I'm Dr. Mark Hatala, and I want to welcome you to my office. I'm a cognitive scientist who studies time travel by replicating days from the past. So everything that someone who was alive on a particular date would have been exposed to, from early morning newspapers to late night television and everything in between. Today we're talking about February 9th, 1964, which is the day that the Beatles appeared on the Ed Sullivan Show. So here's my Paul McCartney, my imitation. We have the same transistor radio. And so the topic for today is life versus Soviet life. So Life magazine was an incredibly popular magazine in the United States. Oh, here, I'll hold it up. This is the copy from February 7th, so it was contemporaneous with when the Beatles were in the United States. The cover is it's a British commando in Tanzania, what's modern-day Tanzania. But Life magazine was known for its full-color pictures of celebrities and American politicians, most of those politicians having the last name of Kennedy. And there's some interesting articles in this particular issue. One is about Arthur Miller, who you may be familiar with. He's a very famous playwright. He wrote The Crucible and Death of a Salesman. And he wrote a play called After the Fall, which was clearly about his wife, his second wife, Marilyn Monroe. And it was played by his third wife, Barbara Loden. I think that's her name. Yes. And he wrote an article for Life explaining why he made this play. Because people were really upset about it. People who knew Marilyn Monroe, people who knew him. Because she was not portrayed in a positive light, and she passed away and couldn't defend herself anymore. Jackie Kennedy, who was a friend of Arthur Miller's, stopped having dinner with him and didn't even want to know him because of this play. The second article is what's called the Fearmongers, and it's really about racial hate groups in the United States in 1964. It's difficult to read today because it's hard to imagine that these sorts of groups existed, but it's also interesting to compare how the world was then and how it is now, and what's similar and what's different. And so I would encourage you to read that too. Our other magazine is Soviet Life in the USSR. Sovietsky Soyuz. Don't worry, I won't keep singing. But I was a Russian major in college. Я говорю по-русски. Очень плохо. Very terribly. It was one of my majors. Soviet Life was exchanged with the United States. So they sent us 30,000, this starts in 1956. They send us 30,000 copies a month of Soviet Life, which is all about the workers' paradise of the Soviet Union. And we sent them America, which was mostly had pictures of American cars and how fully stocked our supermarkets were. And this is what was known as polite propaganda, because we were trying to show the best of both of our worlds. And so some of the articles in this this Soviet Life today are actually pretty interesting. So for example, Fyodor Konstantinov writes an article about, is Marxism still relevant today? Yes, is his solution. And he says that the Soviet system really does work, and that the rest of the world is going to eventually become socialist, like the Soviet Union. Now, outside of Cuba and American college campuses, nobody believes this today. But this was 2 years after the Cuban Missile Crisis. So this is pretty much it's the Cold War. And so the world was really divided into communist and the free world at the time. And so it's interesting to read these sorts of things today. There's also an article that's titled Young Soviet Workers. And they're all smiling because none of their neighbors have reported on them and had them sent to a gulag. And it gives their names and a little bit about themselves. My favorite is the person who's second to the left. That's Lilia Sukhanova, which I would hope that her friends would refer to her as Supernova. She was trained in radio repair but currently works in a textile factory. And so maybe that helps to explain why the Soviet Union fell in 1991. But I will put links to all of these articles below so you can read them for yourself. And while you're at timetravelsimplified.com, why not become a time traveler and maybe buy my book, Beatles in America, February 9th, 1964. It's guaranteed. It's time travel or it's free. And so I would appreciate if you liked and subscribed and shared this video. And I put a link below to my Patreon account if you'd like to support my research. Otherwise, have a great day.